That we are on Treaty 5 territory this evening, ancestral land of NCN Cree Nation, and that we're all the people. Happy New Year to everyone. Mayor Smook has just arrived from a 12-hour drive. Council has been meeting since 6, so she's asked me to continue to chair. I will go to approval of the agenda, please, Council. Councillor Fitzpatrick, seconded by Councillor Colburn. All in favor? Agenda is approved. I'll go to community comments for this evening's agenda. If there's any, please state your name and address. If you have any comments on tonight's agenda.
Ron Matichuk, 20 Ash Street. I was wondering, since you guys are either into or getting into the budget discussions, if prior to getting too busy, if we're going to get some more check registers to get caught up with that.
Thank you. Administration?
Yeah, I believe our CFO is working to get those on a more regular basis.
Okay, I noticed
Thank
there's
you.
nothing on the agenda tonight.
No, there isn't. Thank you. So moving forward, we're going to move right into reports under number 5. 5.1 is the Reaching Home Canadian Alliance and Ending Homelessness Conference that was attended by in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'll go to administration.
Yeah, so the Reaching Home program had asked the city manager and myself to attend this conference along with a number of people from what's called the Lived Experience Council. This is the funding program that the council has signed with the federal government to fund housing and homelessness initiatives in Thompson. This Lived Experience Council is a group of people in Thompson who have experienced homelessness at one point or another, and they went and made a presentation in Halifax on how funding decisions are made to the Reaching Home program locally. There was a lot of interest from a number of the I guess the other Reaching Home programs around the country. I know that there are ones in Vancouver, the ones in Yellowknife, and a few others are now reaching out to our local community advisory board, looking to adopt what they're calling the Thompson model. So I provided you with a memo of what happened at the conference, as along with the conference itinerary, and I'm trying to get a copy of the video presentation that was made, so that you'll have a better understanding of what the Thompson model is. If there's any questions, it's just for your information.
Thank you, Council. Do you have any questions on this that they attended? I can tell you that there's been a lot of positive feedback on that presentation. And when the video is able to be given to council, it's also been requested that the Premier and the new government has the opportunity to review it also. Any other comments, Councilor Colbert?
Not on this, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
But you only called once for community feedback.
Thank you, Councilor Colburn. We don't have 3 turns for community comments. It's at the direction of the chair, and I specifically in the organizational procedure bylaw, it has to be comments or questions relating to tonight's agenda. And since that wasn't followed, I decided to go right into reports. Thank you. Any other comments based on 5.1? Thank you, administration. We'll go to 5.2, AMM Fall Convention in 2023.
This is a report to council from Mayor Smook, Deputy Mayor Valentino, Councillor Fitzpatrick, and myself, who attended the AMM convention in Brandon, the annual general meeting. There's a number of meetings that were held there. So we had meetings with Minister Samard, the Minister of Sports, Culture and Heritage, and the Minister responsible for liquor lotteries. It stayed at 15 minutes, which was the actual meeting time. Most of the discussion was about costing and getting funding for the Thompson Aquatic Center, the pool. But we also discussed the community safety and wellbeing plan and the impact of the liquor and lottery strike on the crime statistics in the community. And the number of the calls went down by 50% during that strike. So that was really the main discussions there. Cities Caucus was held. Mayor Smook is the chair of the Cities Caucus. Minister Bushy and the Deputy Minister Gray attended. The Cities Caucus decided to send a letter to the government outlining the city's priorities for the coming year. And there was roundtable discussions on regional and I guess healthcare outside of the city of Winnipeg, as well as policing and public safety challenges being faced by the cities. We held meetings with Minister Smith. That's the Minister of Housing, Addictions, Homelessness, and the Minister responsible for mental health. That was supposed to be 15 minutes. It ended up being about 35 minutes. Went through the community safety and wellbeing plan, presented to the minister, discussed the homeless shelter and the sobering center projects, discussed the facility report, and that the city is still interested in pursuing that in our community. Mayor Smook and Deputy Mayor Valentino convinced Minister Bushy to have a separate meeting that wasn't scheduled, that ended up being 35 minutes. We discussed the tendering of the pool project, the challenges with raising capital for the costs, and the cost escalations in the north versus the south, as well as the ISIP funding challenges for critical infrastructure province-wide, not just for Thompson. Held meetings with the RCMP, discussed the crime suppression unit proposal, discussed body worn cameras. There was an update provided by the RCMP. The city will be required to pay once RCMP adopts those Canada-wide. And then we discussed the crime severity index and meetings that are going to be held in North Battleford Saskatoon in February of 2024. I presented on the CSO program as part of a moderated panel discussing the municipality's perspective on the CSO program. And then 2 of our resolutions that were submitted through the city council resolutions that then went to June district meetings were voted on by the AMM at the general voting session, and both were adopted by the AMM. The first one was on the Building Sustainable Communities program, not requiring the co-share matching funds from external agencies. And the other was on the fair allocation of policing costs for hub communities like ours that end up having to spend a lot of money on costs that are not our own. There's a ministerial forum that was co-chaired by the AMM president and the premier. And there's information there for the councillors who couldn't attend on how to read up more on what the rest of the meeting is about. There's upcoming meetings for AMM. The spring convention is in Brandon, April 9th to 11th. And the fall convention this year will be in Winnipeg, November 25th to 27th. That is the report.
Any questions or comments or follow-up on this report from city manager on the convention and the meetings? Councilor Robert?
Hey, Deputy Mayor. Question about the bodies on cameras. Do we have a timeline as to when those are going to be rolling out?
It keeps getting delayed. They should have been rolled out already, but it's all decisions being made at the Ottawa level. So we don't have a firm deadline or timeline when that's going to happen.
And do we have an idea of what the cost is going to be?
I believe the initial cost may be borne by the government, and then the city would be responsible for the ongoing cost, but I don't have those figures either.
Any other comments or questions? One other thing that we do have discussed is we bring them up to date on the Thompson Regional Airport and the updates with the expansion there also in our meetings. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, council, we will move on to our reports from Public Works under number 6. So 6.1 is a memo from the Director of Public Works in regards to the support and services agreement for the Foxborough operating system. This is an annual request that goes out and will go to city manager.
Yeah, so the director sent his regrets. He's come down with the flu this afternoon. So I'll be covering this one for him. The Foxborough program or the system is the system that runs the water treatment plant. It takes care of all the automation and all controlling all the mechanisms inside the building. It's proprietary software, so it's not like you're stuck with the one provider, and this is this annual renewal. So it's being brought forth, recommending that it go to council at the next meeting for a resolution to enter into the yearly agreement for this program.
Any questions, Councilor Wong?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to question about the project program. I thought we had the discussion about moving forward. We want to amalgamate both the wastewater and the water treatment plant. That's why we only enter 1 year at a time. Have any progress with that project? Are we getting finding the program that compatible with 2 sites?
Yep,
Yeah.
the program's already picked out. It's called Orchestra. It's the same one that's being used at the wastewater plant. The project is going to be done by the Water Services Board as part of the generator project. So the Water Services Board wants to do it all at once. That's the only reason that we haven't moved on that. Because they want to tie in, when they do the electrical work on the generators, they want to tie that into the automation.
So how much longer that they will be able to live for these 2 facility combined together?
The Foxborough program is at end of life, but they will continue to support until our next one's in.
No, sorry. Let me rephrase
It's
the
okay.
question.
Go ahead.
About amalgamate the program, so that way we can monitor both at the same time with the program.
How long?
So when would be happen?
I think we're hoping that the Water Services Board moves on it this year. We expected them to do it last year, but they didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna try and touch base with Water Services Board today to look at this, but I'm really gonna hold them. But yeah, they want to partner it all together. Last I spoke to them was in November. So they were asking a bunch of technical questions regarding, components and number of clients and things like that for the software licenses.
So will it be one of the priority this 2024 project?
It's on the project list. Priority,
Water Services sets their own priorities, but we can pressure them. It's a priority for us.
Well, I'm asking you guys, is that a priority for you?
It's a priority for us. I know the director wanted this to be done this
Yeah.
2024.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Okay, so this is, I have a consensus from council to move this forward for resolution. All those in favor? All right, we can move that forward for a resolution. And I'm gonna go to reports from finance this evening. 7.1 is a memo from the assistant financial officer in regards to account receivable write-offs. And I'm gonna go to our CFO. Are you speaking to this memo?
Yes, these were invoices that were for the Princeton Towers through the receivership that were covered by the order of the judge. So they weren't approved as a write-off in the initial resolution that came forward last February, and this is being the books on those outstanding issues.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? Pretty self-explanatory, but anybody have any questions? I'll look for a consensus. We need a resolution for this administration for next Monday.
That's
Can
correct.
I get a consensus from council to move this forward for a resolution? Yeah, we can move that one forward. Thank you, council. We're gonna go to 7.2, which is a memo from the chief financial officer in regards to the RCMP criminal property forfeiture funding. Go back to our CFO on this one.
Thank you. Just before Christmas, I was called into a meeting with Constables Cleveland and Brand from the RCMP, and he provided me with the documents that are attached to the memorandum. They had applied for and received approval for a $12,500 grant, one-time only grant from the criminal property forfeiture funding, which probably someone has told that. There is an agreement that the city has to enter into for them to be able to access these funds. The only thing that popped out on it is that they must stick to their $12,500 budget for the program that they've applied for, but anything over and above that, once we sign an agreement, if they do go over budget, then the city is responsible for those costs. So the diligence will be on our part and the RCMP's part to ensure that we stay within that budget.
Thank you for that update. Any questions or comments from council on this? Council Wong, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe this is kind of like a flow-through funding
That's correct.
scheme, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're required for the support from the city, or because of they don't have, because we did a lot throughout the year with other committee or the flow through. I'm wondering, would it be easier for them to, we use the same method to do that kind of flow through or not? Just a question.
If we do it as a flow through the way that the community entity is being handled, then there's nothing showing on our financial records for the receipt of those funds or the deposit on the revenue and expenditures are. It would all be done as a separate bookkeeping, which causes a lot of extra work for our assistant CFO. So I would recommend that we do set up an account for the receipt of the revenues and the expenditures, so that when we start giving you monthly statements in 2024, you will see exactly what's being spent on that program and the money that's come in. Then when Constables Cleveland and Grant come over to give you a report on the progress of the program, and then you also will be knowledgeable of what the expenses are.
My other question is, would it cost a lot of work for you guys to do extra, this kind of flow through or no? Or just a one part of a job?
If it's done as a flow through and not through our financial records as a revenue and expense, that is not a lot of extra work, yes. But if it's done through if we set it up in our chart of accounts and do it through the regular process as we pay our other bills and receive monies, then it's not a lot of extra work.
So then, sorry, let me just suggest to come into us, let us distribute the money, it's way easier.
That's correct.
But what is the impact for that kind of a thing? Does that show that is a revenue now?
We would show the $12,500 as a revenue in the grant area, and we would show the expenses in.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, any other comments? Council, administration and council.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, if everyone is done, I was just gonna say that we'll have to bring it for a resolution.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Council Colburn has a comment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You said that we are responsible if they go over. Did you
Yeah,
say
can
that?
you reply to that? Yeah.
Yes, there is in the agreement that was attached to the memorandum, there is a clause, I believe, clause 4, that says that any overages is the responsibility of the city.
Well, is this a year-long project or?
Yes, it's a 10-month project.
For $12,500, yeah.
It's $1,200 a month. Not very much. I think we'll be dishing out for this one. Right? Thank you, but I won't be supporting this.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mayor Smook?
Yeah, the forfeiture proceeds, I think, from Thompson, we're always lobbying that Thompson should get a bigger share because a big share goes out of here on that. So I think the fact if we get this first 12,500 is monitored closely by everybody, depending what their project exactly is here, for future projects. I actually think it's likely a good thing for Thompson moving forward.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? We will need a resolution for next Monday to enter into this agreement. So I will look for a consensus for council to move this forward for next Monday night for a resolution. All those in favor? And those opposed? So it's carried to move forward for resolution. Thank you. Go to development reports. 8.1 is a memo this evening from the Director of Development and Technical Services in regards to the zoning bylaw amendment number 2040-2024, shop versus drug murder. This is a hot topic. You're up there, Director.
Good evening, council. Happy New Year. So as everyone recalls, back in March 2023, Berkeley Plaza suffered a major fire. So similar to a zoning bylaw amendment that we had back in November, the building developer here is wanting to rebuild in the exact same location, similar style building. However, with the current zoning bylaw that we have in place, what they're looking to do is not allowed in that zone. So if you recall from the previous zoning bylaw that we did in November, the property was pre-existing non-conforming is the words. The use of the property as a strip mall predates our zoning bylaws. I think that building was built in the late 60s, if I remember the drawings correctly. So in discussion with our regional planner, the chief building inspector, myself, and the regional planner looked to figure out how this would best fit. Again, the use of a strip mall is the best fit for that building. That's what it is. It is a strip mall. It contains more than 4 commercial businesses in one building. So we're looking to put this zoning bylaw amendment forward to add strip mall to the CMU. That's the request.
Thank you, Director. Any comments or questions on this one? I think we're happy to see that they're rebuilding in very timely also, and a bigger footprint and attached. So any comments from council? All right, I'll look for consensus to bring this zoning bylaw amendment as a resolution for Monday night. All those in favor to do that? That's carried. Move that forward. Thank you, council. Now go to our legislative reports. 9.1, we have a letter of thanks from Premier Wapenu to Mayor Smoot for agreeing to serve on the Premier's Business and Jobs Council. Go to administration.
Yeah, this one's just for information to council. It's just a thank you letter from the Premier, as well as a news release outlining what the council's about and who the other members are.
Thank you. Any comments on this? And I'm assuming Mayor Smoot will provide council updates as they start to meet and get themselves organized.
Our first meeting is in February.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to 9.2, a letter from the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Matt Weed. Go to administration.
This is another letter in response to our letter to the minister, basically saying that they'd like to continue to work with the city of Thompson. We've actually had a meeting with the minister in the middle of December, I believe. So we've already had our first meeting with him.
Thank you. Any comments from council on this for information? All right, seeing none, we will go to 9.3. We have a letter from the Minister of Environment and Climate Change regarding the recycling rebate under the Waste Reduction and Recycling Support Program. From the Honorable Tracy Schmidt.
This is just a letter letting council know that council will be receiving a check for $27,764.85 for the first 6 months of 2023 as part of the Waste Reduction and Recycling Support Program.
Any comments from council? I do have a question. Is this more or less, do we know, than what we've gotten from the previous year? Anybody know?
I wouldn't have that off the top of my, but it seems like a regular ballpark figure, something in that area. I know they do calculate it based on tonnages and different things, but.
Okay, thank you. That's for information. 9.4 is an email from the Director of Arts, Cultural and Sport and Community Unit regarding the approved Arts and Cultural Sport Community Project, not 23LC-092 Thompson Aquatic Center grant. There's an email attached.
This is just an email letting the council know that the funding that was made under the previous government has been confirmed by the new government towards the pool project. Just letting you know that they're planning to cash flow it, wouldn't be till next year.
Thank you. Any comments on this? This was comforting for me when I read this because they do have, if you've been following in the news, they are reviewing all of their capital projects that are on the go. So it was encouraging to see that this capital project is still to be funded and to be one of the ones on the as province's radar. Any comments for information? 9.5 is a letter from Multi-Material Stewardship Manitoba with respect to 2024 municipal recycling funding payments. The letter attached. I'll go to administration.
Yeah, and this was just letting council to know that for 2024, MMSM has calculated that council will be receiving $113,607 towards the recycling program.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments? Councilor Wong, go ahead.
Thank you. Looks a little bit low this time.
I believe this one is also done by some of the tonnages, as if you remember that the recycling center was having trouble earlier in the year. There was some recycling that was diverted because they're having trouble with the processing plant. So it might have reduced some of the calculations. I'm not too sure.
Is there any way we can find out the methodology of how to do the funding? Because that way at least we know what exactly expect to come back and rather than just based on whatever they give it to us. Sometimes they can lowball us, we don't even know.
We can.
I know it's the money that come back, it doesn't matter, it's just.
I can submit an email requesting an explanation how they do
At
it.
least
I'm not
an
sure
idea,
how they
right?
do it.
Yeah. I can just clarify on that. So MMSM went through a big overhaul on how they were funding, and we did receive a presentation a couple of years ago, I think, on was a PowerPoint on some of the changes that were going to be made to communities and even those that weren't actually active in the recycling program. But you just have to email them and they'll provide you the details on the city of Thompson for sure. Yeah. Mayor Smoot, did you have your hand up? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say also our member on the recycling board can ask questions at the meetings there and get updates and bring them back to us as council too. They're always open to that, so.
Thank you, another good avenue. All right, I'll get a motion for adjournment, please. Mayor Smoot, Council Coburn, all those in favor? We are adjourned, thank you.